Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for today's yoga class. Here on my deck in my beautiful backyard, it's the morning here, and I hope this video finds you doing really well, feeling happy, feeling healthy, and connected. So today is going to be a beginner's class, so all levels are welcome. Sitting up nice and tall, we'll go ahead and get started, taking a few rolls of the shoulders back, sitting up nice and tall, reaching the crown of the head to the sky. Gently closing your eyes, lightly laying your hands on your knees. And just feeling your body calming. Focusing in on the present moment, where you're at right now. Feeling any tension you might be holding without judgment, just noticing. Checking in with your emotions. Where you at today? How are you feeling right now? No judgment, just acceptance of what is. And bringing your attention to your breath. Feeling the inhale and the exhale, the rising and the falling. Let's take a few long, slow, deep breaths into the belly, filling the belly up like a balloon, expanding. And we'll release all the air out of the mouth. We'll do that 3 times. A nice, audible, cleansing, expressive out breath. Long, slow, deep breath into the belly. And once more. Now bringing our breathing to long, slow, deep inhales and exhales only through the nose. We can go ahead and get started. So gently opening your eyes to the room. Once again, sitting nice and tall, taking a roll of the shoulders. Let's take a few shoulder rolls back. Feel a few shoulder rolls forward. Just loosening up. So reach up nice and tall. Get a nice stretch this morning, reaching, taking your gaze up to the ceiling. And let's just take our arms and bring them down to our sides and just lightly tenting your fingertips on either side on the mat. Just touching them lightly. And let's take our gaze to the right and back to center and to the left. Back to center to the right once more. And back to center and to the left. And back to center. Let's take right ear to right shoulder. Reaching up with the right arm, just lightly placing your hand on your head. deepening the stretch, but nice and slow and gentle. Nice and slow and gentle. Continuing to breathe in and out the nose. And releasing the right fingertips down to the mat. Let's take our left shoulder to the left ear. And reaching up with the left hand. And release the hand and the head back to neutral. Let's take our chin and just jet it out forward slightly and bring chin to chest nice and slow. And slowly raising up. We're going to take our chin all the way up. Taking your gaze nice and slowly. Bringing the neck all the way back. Opening up through the chest and throat. Sitting up nice and tall through the spine. Excuse me. And slowly coming back to neutral. All right, let's reach our arms up nice and high. And we'll do a twist. So we're going to take our left hand to our right knee. And taking our left hand right behind. Sitting up nice and tall. And taking the gaze over the right shoulder. And releasing head, neck, shoulders last. Reaching up tall once again. And bringing the right hand to the left knee. Left arm reaches back. And taking our gaze over the left shoulder. Sitting up nice and tall and feeling the twist through the upper back. And releasing head, neck, shoulders. Coming back up. And now we're going to work our way to tabletop position and begin to warm our spine. So coming into tabletop, we're going to be stacking, coming on all fours. And we want to stack our shoulder and wrists, right? Wrists are right beneath the shoulders, and the knees are right directly beneath the hips. And we're keeping a nice strong back. And we're going to do cat and cow to warm up the spine. So we'll begin with cow. So we're going to drop the belly towards the mat and arching through the spine, pressing up through all 10 fingers, pressing up through the shoulders, and taking our gaze forward, lifting through the chin. Feeling that stretch all through the arch of the back. And now we're going to go into cat. So beginning with the tailbone, begin rounding the spine all the way up, dropping the head and neck just natural, pressing through the shoulders. And releasing back into cow. So bring once again, dropping the belly towards the ground, reaching up through the chin. Do a few more rounds of cat and cow here. Just using your breath as your guide. Inhaling into cow. Exhaling into cat. Just getting that spine nice and warm. Okay, let's bring our spine back to neutral. And we're going to thread the needle and do a little bit of stretching for our shoulders. So we're going to reach up with our left hand, reaching up nice and high. And we're going to bring this left arm all the way beneath our right shoulder, keeping our shoulder right here. And then we're going to place our left shoulder on the mat, keeping our hips elevated. Place that shoulder on the mat and reaching forward with your right hand, and place your left cheek on the mat. I have my headpiece, so it's probably not going to work. Just feeling that stretch through the shoulder that's against the mat. Reaching your right arm out and feeling the stretch in the other shoulder. And slowly walking the right hand back, pressing through your palm. Pressing up through the left. Come up and bring the left hand back to the mat. And we'll reach up with the right arm and thread the right arm beneath the left, bringing your right shoulder to the mat, bringing your right cheek to the mat, and reaching forward with the left hand. And we'll just hold here for a few breaths, keeping your hips elevated. And bring the left hand back next to the cheek, pressing up, bringing that right hand high and bringing it back to tabletop. Now from tabletop, we're going to take our big toes to touch and spread our knees out nice and wide. I'm going to slowly set back, coming into extended child's pose. So we're bringing belly between our knees and walking the hands out in front, bringing chest and ultimately forehead to the mat, sinking down into the mat, feeling that nice stretch through the hips. And take a few breaths here. And walking your hands back to center. We're going to tuck all 10 toes and come up to our very first downward facing dog. So spreading your fingers on the mat, nice and wide. Coming up, tucking 10 toes and pressing up through the feet. Now we're going to walk your hands out a little further, getting your hands and feet a comfortable distance apart. And we'll just start with our feet hip distance apart, coming up on your toes and just feeling all 10 toes grounding into the mat, feeling all 10 fingers grounding into the mat, allowing your head and neck just to hang loose here. And our first downward facing dog, let's take whatever movements feel good here. Maybe pedaling our feet, pressing the heels back into the mat. Walk the doggy. Whatever feels good for you here. And just taking a few breaths. Now we can slowly walk our hands back towards the back of our mat, towards our feet. Now start to take a nice bend in your legs, keeping your feet hip distance apart. We're going to do ragdoll pose here. So just keeping your feet hip distance apart, a nice generous bend in the knees and resting your torso on your thighs. And just allowing the head to rest naturally. Let's take and grab opposite elbow with opposite hand. And we're just opening up through the back, through the spine, just holding here. You can gently rock back and forth if that feels good to you. Ragdoll. And slowly start to come and bring your knees a little more straight. And maybe relaxing your hands, bringing the hands back down to the mat, coming into a forward fold, but just nice and slow here. Getting this stretch again, maybe bending one leg and straightening the other, not locking the knees. Maybe grasp onto the backs of your ankles, whatever works for you here in your body. We're all different, no judgment. Just doing what feels good, right? All right, now let's rise up to a halfway lift. So we're gonna you can bring your fingers to the mat, keeping the back nice, straight, and flat, or bringing your hands to your shins. Taking a nice stretching the spine forward towards the front of your mat. And release. Let's bring the hands back down to the mat and slowly walking forward once again. Let's come into a high plank. So we're going to take our hands, shoulders distance apart, again keeping our fingertips nice and spread apart, and coming into a nice flat back. And just holding here for whatever works for you. And then we're going to come down to the mat. So slowly lowering down to the mat. If you need to drop your knees and come down, otherwise chaturanga, you can slightly come forward on your toes and bring your body down slowly in a slow push-up. Coming all the way down to the mat. Let's take the top of our feet to the mat and placing our hands next to our body up towards our shoulders, beneath the shoulders. We're just going to do a nice low cobra. So release the head, neck, and shoulders, and just press up through the hands, just bringing the rib cage up off the mat. And release. Let's press back up, tucking your toes. Press back up into plank and back into a downward facing dog once again. And from downward facing dog, we're going to take our gaze between our hands and we're just going to step however many steps it takes, and we're going to walk ourselves in between our hands and find ourselves at the front of the mat. Hip distance apart, and once again in a forward fold. And coming up once more to a halfway lift. And coming down once again to a forward fold. We're going to slowly and carefully rise up one vertebrae at a time, just allowing our arms to hang. Slowly and carefully rising all the way up to a tall mountain. So lastly, bringing head, neck, and shoulders. We're going to reach our arms up, 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 up. And now we'll begin some sun salutations. So reaching up high and tall, let's bring our palms together. Take a slight bend to the right and coming back up to center. Slowly and carefully bend to the left and come back to center. We're going to come down to a forward fold. And rising up to a halfway lift. Coming down to a forward fold. Let's gently bend the knees, planting the hands on either side of our feet, and step back 1 and step back 2 into high plank. Now we're going to lower down to the mat. So you can either do a chaturanga, which is a little more advanced, where you're going to move forward on your toes and you're going to bend down, and your elbows are not going backwards like this. They're coming down like this. The elbows are staying bent and you're keeping them next to your body. It's one way to lower down. That's called a chaturanga. Otherwise, from high plank, you can just slowly lower down to your knees and slowly lower your whole body down to the mat. So then now we're in the down at chaturanga. If you're all the way down to the mat from cobra, you're going to press, or I'm sorry, from lowering down, we're going to just press through and bringing the shoulders or the chest up off the mat into a cobra. If you've come down in a chaturanga, what's going to happen is you're not going to allow your thighs to come onto the mat. You're just going to flip to the top of your toes and you're going to press up to an upward facing dog. So you have the option of upward facing dog or cobra from right here. And that's something you can play with each time. What's working in your body. Now from upward dog or cobra, we're going to come into a downward facing dog. So we're going to start with the tops of our feet against the mat, and we're going to come up onto our toes, tucking our 10 toes under, spreading our fingers nice and wide, taking a slight step forward and coming into a downward facing dog. Allowing our head and neck to just hang nice and loose in our downward facing dog. Pressing through all 10 fingers, feeling all 10 toes. And it's a goal in a downward facing dog to bring your heels of your feet all the way down to the mat. But it's not necessary, just something to work towards, whatever works in your body. So from here, let's rise up on our toes, pressing into our fingers, and just coming down with the heels towards the mat. And coming up on your toes. And bringing the heels towards the mat once more. Now let's take our gaze between our hands and step, walk, or float to the front of the mat. And coming into a forward fold. And rising up to a halfway lift. Coming back down once more to a forward fold. Slowly rising up once again, tall mountain. This time let's take a cactus to our arms, opening up through the chest, taking our gaze up to the sun. And rising back up with the arms and coming down once again. And we'll do another sun salutation, coming into a forward fold. Rising up to a halfway lift. Coming down to a forward fold, planting our hands, stepping back, high plank. Lower down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. And we take a few breaths in downward facing dog. Let's an energizing yet restorative pose. Inversions, keeping your head beneath your heart. So healthy. And gazing towards the front of the mat, step, walk, or float. Forward fold. And up to a halfway lift. And down to a forward fold. And rising up. Tall mountain. We'll do that again. I'm going to add just a few more poses into what is a vinyasa flow or a sun salutation. Reaching up, coming down to a forward fold, coming up to a halfway lift, coming down, planting the hands, stepping back, high plank, lowering down to the mat, upward dog or cobra, downward facing dog. Again, a few breaths in downward facing dog. This time we're going to step our right foot forward. We're going to take our right toe, big toe, and place it behind our right thumb. This is a nice low lunge. We're going to drop our left knee down to the mat, bringing the top of the left foot to the mat, pressing into that right foot, just feeling that right foot nice and grounding. Feeling the top of the left foot grounding and slowly rising up. And you can place your hands on your right knee and just find your balance here. Sitting up nice and tall on that left knee. Rolling the shoulders down away from the ears. Let's see if we can take our arms, just reaching up. Taking our gaze forward. And just hold here for a breath. Let's bring our arms back down. Let's clasp our hands behind our back and just reach down for a chest expansion here. Taking the gaze up if you can. And releasing the hands. Reach up once more and bring the palms to either side of our right foot in low lunge. Let's tuck our back left toe coming up to on our left foot, and let's step forward and left foot meets right, coming into a forward fold. And we'll rise back up, tall mountain. And we'll go down once more to a forward fold. We'll do that flow on the other side. Rising up to a halfway lift. Coming down to a forward fold, planting the hands, stepping back, high plank. Lowering down to the mat. Upward dog or cobra. And downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here. Now we're going to take that left foot and step the left big toe behind the left thumb. And bringing the right knee down to the mat. Top of the right foot comes to the mat. And slowly rising up. And placing your hands on your left knee. And just finding your balance here for a few breaths. Sitting up nice and tall, shoulders away from the ears. And let's rise up with the arms. Feeling nice and strong, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. Maybe finding a point on the wall or the floor, a drizzy, some place to focus your focus, which really just helps keeping balance. And let's slowly bring our arms behind our back, clasping the fingers together and pressing down towards the earth, opening through the chest. And releasing the hands, reaching the arms back up and coming down on either side of the front leg. Let's come back up onto our right toe, step the left back to meet, and let's go to downward facing dog once more. And gazing towards the front of the mat, step, walk, or float. Once again, coming into a forward fold and rising all the way up, tall mountain. Bring our hands down, palms together, prayer position. And just take a breath here in mountain pose, feeling your feet against the earth, finding your balance, maybe closing your eyes, and just feeling your strength here. Slight bend in the knees, not locking our knees. Standing up nice and tall, feeling a lift in the kneecaps, engaging the thighs, engaging the core. Dropping the shoulders away from the ears, reaching the crown of the head towards the sky. Now we're feeling nice and grounded and balanced. This is a good time to practice our tree pose. So we're going to start with feet hip distance apart. And we're going to place our weight into our left foot and slowly just pick the right heel up off the floor, off the ground. Feeling our balance in our left foot. We're going to slowly rise up with bringing the right knee up. Now everything just happening nice and slowly, finding a point to gaze at on the wall or the floor in front of you. We're going to bring our knee up and we're going to open our right knee out to the side. And here we'll decide whether we want to place our toes against the floor and just rest. And just resting the sole of the foot on the ankle. Thank you. And then, or you can bring it up to your calf, or you can bring it up to your inner thigh. Now we never want to rest our foot against our knee in tree pose. Our knee is not meant to bend that way. It's not good. So once you've found where you're going to have your foot, focusing and balancing, and when you're ready, you can grow your branches. Whatever works for your arms for you in this pose. And everybody's different. There's no pressure here. Everybody's trees look different. Look around. There's no two trees the same. So you can, if you would like, bring your palms together and even bring your hands to prayer position. And then when you're ready, slowly release. Now let's try that on the opposite side. So we're going to bring our weight into our right foot and slowly bringing our left heel off the floor, finding our balance, finding our drishti, point of focus, bringing the left knee up and bringing it out to the side, and then just finding our placement, whatever feels good. Our balance is different depending on the day. One side we can be better at one point than the other side. It's always different, always changing. Try and accept your body where it is without judgment. And release. We're going to make our way back down to our mat and begin the cool down phase. All right, so let's sit up nice and tall and bring our legs out nice and long on the mat, sitting up nice tall in a seated staff pose. Feeling the sitting bones nice and grounding into the mat, reaching up nice and tall through the spine. We'll do a forward fold. So reaching up with the arms, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, just bending at the hips, and just seeing how far your body will go today. Again, no judgment. And once you find that point of resistance, just allowing your hands to drop. Now, if you want to further the stretch, you can grab onto the bottoms of your feet or your ankles, whatever is accessible, or just placing the palms on either side of the legs now and allowing the head, neck, and shoulders to just drop naturally to deepen the stretch. And slowly rising up and walking the hands back up to a straight spine. Let's slowly make our way down to our back. And placing our palms on the mat on either side of us. Let's take a roll of the shoulders back once again. We're going to do bridge pose. So we're going to walk our feet back up towards our glutes, palms down on either side of us. Let's take a slight bend in our chin, bringing the chin to the chest. And lifting up with the hips. And just hold. And slowly release just to a hover. And lifting up once more. And you can release all the way down to the mat. Let's bring our knees to their chest, giving ourselves a nice hug. Wrapping your arms around your legs. Whatever works here for your body, whatever feels good. Take any movements here. Maybe give your lower back a nice little massage. And then we'll bring the back and shoulders down to the mat. And bring the arms out wide to a T. And bring your knees up to a 90-degree angle. And we'll slowly supine twist. So we're going to drop the knees off to the right. Just dropping them off to the right side, feeling that stretch throughout your hips. You can deepen the stretch by taking your gaze over to the right, over your right shoulder, left shoulder, I'm sorry. You can even further the stretch a little bit by taking your right palm and just placing it on the outside of your left knee, just to kind of further that stretch. Keeping both shoulder blades down against the mat. And release the hand. And coming back to center, and we'll drop the knees off to the left. And taking our gaze over the right. Maybe take the left fingers, left palm, placing it on the outside of the right knee this time. And release. And bringing the knees back to center. Let's all bring our feet up, open up for happy baby. So opening up the knees, either grabbing onto your ankles, the outsides of your feet, the insides of your feet, or even wrapping big toes around, or peace fingers around the big toes. And just opening up and rocking gently side to side, trying to keep the length of the spine grounded against the mat. And then we'll release for final resting pose, Savasana. So just allowing the feet to stretch out nice and long. Allowing the legs to be nice distance apart, feet fall open. Let's bring our arms to a comfortable distance away from the body. And depending on where you're at for the day, you might need more grounding, so keeping the palms down, or you might need some more energy to get you through the rest of your day, so therefore keeping palms up during Savasana to receive energy. And just letting go of any control over your breathing. Letting go of the practice. And once again, coming back into the present moment. Checking in once more with your feelings, your emotions. Noticing any areas of tension you may be holding. And just accepting. And taking a nice scan of the body from head to toes. Relaxing any areas that you can further deepen into relaxation. encourage you to continue your savasana just as long as possible. May we even pause this video and resume when you are ready. And when you are ready, let's take a roll onto one side. Using our arm as a pillow, and just taking a moment to recognize what an amazing thing taking this time for yourself really truly is. Self-care is something that isn't focused on enough in our world. And you did this today. You took this time for yourself. So acknowledging that and appreciating that. And maybe thanking yourself for that. Giving yourself some gratitude. Much appreciated. Probably don't do it enough. And I hope these good feelings, this feeling of confidence and goodness to yourself carries with you throughout your day. And when you're ready, slowly pressing up to a seat. And sitting up nice and tall once again. As you move throughout your day, may you have peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, and peace in your heart. From my heart to yours, namaste.